This is the client panel. It's very easy for us as media owners to talk about media, pipes, distribution, agency work, but actually understanding what goes on in the inner workings of clients is what we're going to figure out today. So very easily, there's an easy question. It's going to be the easiest one that you get. After this, I'm not going to be as nice. Just introduce yourself, what you do sort of a day-to-day, and then give us one thing that you kind of think about daily within your roles that is a constant sort of bugbear to you. And B, why don't we start with you?
Fantastic. So my name's Beatrice. I work for Beiersdorf. I'm the Vice President of Media and Digital, which basically means on a daily basis I look after our integrated communications, data measurements, etc. across Europe and North America. And what is my daily bug that I think about all the time? How can we grow market share? And how do I prove out that marketing contributes to that?
Sales. You look at sales and your market share amongst your competitors.
Yeah.
That's your daily thing. Okay, Gordana, same question for you. Did I butcher your name?
Gordana Buccisano. From Reckitt, I'm a global brand strategy director based in London. I look after, myself and my team look after top 13 global Reckitt brand. What's my, what did you say? What do I spend my time
what do you spend your time thinking
worrying
on?
about?
Yeah. What's the one thing? You go to bed at night and go, I wish I could figure that out.
Yeah, I think for me and my team, it's all about consumer centricity, really getting to that consumer insight, human truth and tension, so we can relate to them and come back with some proper value exchanges.
Do you think the media understand that? Because obviously when the media approach you, they're talking about, CPMs, GPRs, who you target. Do they get into the understanding of what consumers want and what you guys are thinking about?
Absolutely. I think they are an essential part of our ecosystem. We debate and think about that all the time. It's one of the essential touch points, really. So journey from the brand strategy all the way to activation. So it's a family.
Fair enough. Noelia?
Yeah.
How was that for pronunciation? What about you? Tell us what you do, obviously, and what's your sort of daily bugbear too?
Well, I'm the brand and media manager at Aventura. Aventura is the biggest resort of the south of Europe, for those who don't know. It's 9 hotels and 3 thematic parks, so I invite you to come. You will have fun. And my responsibilities there is to define and execute the media plan for all the campaigns. Yeah.
That's your daily thing? It's just your daily thing? And now, you told me before, media inflation in Spain, huge problem for you. And would you say your budgets are flat? You probably don't want to reveal that, but I'm going to assume so. Is that something that's a big issue for you and your business?
Yeah, the issue is to be as much effective as possible. So the measurement there comes to light. So we need to be sure that all our investments have a return. And this is our daily concern, that we need to cover out. And
what period of time do you measure that?
Constantly. We have open season from February to December. Every season is important, so we are constantly reviewing the metrics season to season. So.
Okay. So pertaining to the title of the panel, can we all categorically agree it's the worst title panel ever?
Yeah.
In the sense that, did we ever lose advertising? What do you think, B? Is this something that is obviously your day-to-day job? Did we lose it? Is it making a comeback? Has it always been there?
I think it's always been there. The game stayed the same. We just had a few changes of the rules here and there, and it's evolved. But yeah, it's always been there.
What rules have changed?
Measurement. I mean, going back to a bit what Gordana was saying, obviously consumer behaviors and patterns have changed over time. I mean, I'm old enough to have lived through having 90% of my budget in TV advertising, and that was like the simplest way of doing things. Now TV's moved to connected TV, online TV, and so on and so forth. So how we evaluate and how we measure what success is has definitely changed slightly. To Noelia's point, I think that now we need more of a mosaic of metrics and outcome metrics, because there's not a golden bullet, but we need to align behind what the outcome metrics that we want, and then look at long-term and short-term impacts and metrics.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Gordana, is it a poorly titled session?
Very.
Okay.
And I'm glad you changed it. I think you had the worst version.
I don't think we changed it, but we're going to discuss whether we should change it.
Definitely. I don't think it ever went away. And because, as I keep saying, it's like, look at how many people are here. today and in the next couple of days. I think the community, advertising community, whether it's from the brand side, media side, or the whole family of the advertising, it's never been actually stronger. We did go through a tough patch, as we all know, but I think it's coming back. The expectations are different. The expectations from us as a marketeer in the context, how do we talk to our consumers, how do we engage, what is the value exchange, meaningful value exchange that we can provide, has changed fundamentally. But it's also the services, the way how we engage with our partners has also evolved. Not changed dramatically, just evolved in line with the world that we are living in.
So I'm going to sprinkle a bit of colour on the title. I think a lot of it means is marketing science making a comeback after we've had, let's be honest, 10 years of a lot of nonsense in the industry, a lot of issues with data, a lot of short-termism. So I guess, B, I'll ask you this. Is marketing effectiveness making a comeback? Because I think that's what the title of the session was really leaning on.
In my world, I don't think it ever really disappeared, to be honest. I was hopefully trying to keep that balance of always looking at effectiveness. I'm part of a commercial team in the sense that, my closest peers are GMs and not necessarily marketeers. So for me, marketing effectiveness, marketing science is essential to have a meaningful conversation with my stakeholders.
Now, interestingly, in your job, you actually brought in Les and Peterfield to talk about the fundamentals of marketing effectiveness to your team. Why did you do that? And what sort of results are you seeing from that?
I invited them quite recently, but I worked with them before. I think it's just always good to bring the outside in and level set. When we talk about marketing effectiveness, as you just said, what are the outcome metrics that we're actually looking at? And I think that, instead of just looking at it from an internal perspective, it's good to take an external perspective and say, okay, so this is how it works. This is what actually has been working over 20 years, and just bring in that perspective.
Do you think, when you look at those two and you look at the text that they're using, which is generally a lot older, even the long and short of it is now, 2013, How Brands Grow, and that's another probably 20 years old. Does it need modernising a bit? Does that still translate to 30-year-old media marketers?
It's what I said. I mean, the game that we're in, grow brands, grow market share, hasn't changed, but...
The fundamentals of marketing haven't changed.
Exactly.
You've just got a lot more fragmented media
Exactly.
ecosystem.
But now if you look at new metrics, like attention metrics, like the work that's been done on search and so on and so forth, I mean, that's gradually what, universities and Ehrenberg Bass or Les or Peter or whomever it may be, they're kind of looking into evolving that.
You two lean on this. Marketing effectiveness, Noelia, is it making a comeback for you? Has it always been there?
I think it's always been there. We just has been evolving during the years. It's a different scenario right now. The essentials are there. I think the most important thing now is to get to know to your customer the much as you can, so you make sure that all the implements you do on marketing will be right attended, will be right exposed. So the essentials is there. It's just you need to transform and to adapt to the nowadays the needs, which are different.
I have a slightly different perspective on this one. I think that I do see the marketing effectiveness becoming more important, but depends what you mean by that. In my case, the importance of data points, the importance of really understanding the consumer and not hiding behind the data, it's becoming fundamentally important. The precision of our messaging and engagement that you can get from the data points and measuring, looking back only to look at the future, I think it's becoming more and more important because, as you quite well know, the budgets are not huge. And so we really need to be very careful. How do we justify every single dollar and pound that we spend in advertising? So yes, there is definitely more rigor, but the right rigor. Right, so the focus is now on really mining the data points that are meaningful and they will help you to tell your story, as opposed to hiding behind them.
Well, I think that's been a problem in the past. We've been hiding behind bad data. We've been hiding behind short-term metrics, which has led us down a garden path. But I guess the question is, you can answer yes, no, in your organisation. Are the marketing effectiveness fundamentals now being sort of executed within your organisation?
I think so.
More so than before?
Yes, I think so. We are trying really, really hard to look at every single part of our business and how do we, especially in the marketing, whether it's from the way how we think about consumer engagement, creative effectiveness, performance marketing, learning agenda. How do we really address each part of this, and which are the partners that we use to help us to really understand the data points, and are we effective or not?
Now, for all of you, this is something that's come up. It came up with actually Les and Peter as well. They believe that education amongst those who are sort of like have media budgets, like brand managers, media managers, they get promoted into jobs, but they actually fundamentally have poor education in how marketing works. They believe it works in a certain way, probably because Google told them how to, but they don't know actually the fundamentals of it. Do you believe that to be true?
I believe that marketeers' jobs are getting increasingly difficult. What probably was good enough 20 years ago isn't necessarily good enough in terms of capabilities now. I think that personally, if we're recruiting, for instance, if we're looking for capabilities from agencies or capabilities internally, we often look, for instance, for transversal capabilities, because if you know one single element of the media ecosystem, for instance, it's hard maybe to translate that to other areas. So you need to kind of stretch your capabilities across many functions. So to answer your question, no, but I think it's a continual educational process. And going back to a little bit what you were saying about Les and Peter, for instance, talking to them or talking to whomever it may be is about also creating a foundation of the same understanding. Like, what are the outcomes that we're trying to drive? What do we actually know works? Why does it work? We proved it out. And then if everyone's a bit on the same foundational level, it's really helpful.
Okay. You guys, education, is it strong in this market? Are marketers coming into roles with budgets and they don't know what they're doing?
No, I don't. I genuinely disagree with that, because I think that, look, the job of being a marketeer these days, it's really, really hard. Not only that, this is my new role, right? This is my first time on the client side. And when I was on the agency side, I had a certain perception of the excellence and the capability on the brand side. I have changed my mind, and the reason why I changed my mind is the job of marketeer is so hard, and the team and the size of the marketing teams in order to address everything that they have to do through the lens of marketing is huge. So the partnerships are fundamental, but I think they're trying really hard. Can they do better? Can we all do better? Absolutely, because that's the journey that we're on. This discussion last year would have been very different.
Yeah.
When the whole Gen AI thing started. Look at us now. We have now evolved sessions and really trying and figuring out what do we actually do with this AI thing.
Can you distill why your job is so difficult, though? Are you being pulled in several different directions? Is that fundamentally what it is? And people have got different ideas of how to do things? Why is it so hard?
Well, I think to your point, what Bea said earlier, it's the consumer expectations and engagement that we need to these days drive in order to get proper traction. It's becoming, they have a very high demands of the brands, and we need to deliver to them. So that's number one. The teams are not huge, so you have to be master of all trades, and being able not only just doing well you need to be advised and be the partner to your agencies. So the capabilities that we need to build are becoming really hard to match up with expectations. So that's why it can be difficult, because you have many stakeholders, you're trying to do it all.
Jack of all, master of none is the British saying. Is that what you were going to say, B?
No, I was also saying the one thing that I love about this industry, so my background, I tell a lot of people, is in computer science. That's what I studied. Totally useless for 10 years of my career. I had no use of that whatsoever.
An engineer? You're an engineer?
I was an engineer, yeah. And I started out, at P&G 20 years ago, and that engineering background wasn't super useful. And then, fast forwarding 10 years, I was like, hey, that was actually a good choice, because, tech does actually come into the mix, and understanding master data management and all that stuff. But to go back to the question, so I think that why I love being in this industry, why I keep doing this job over and over again, is that it's changing. But it's changing really fast. So, whether you're working on a global level or a regional level or even on a local level, you've got to keep up with that constant consumer change. And then in big organizations, you have to implement that change. And that's quite hard. That goes quite quickly.
No, how do you keep your teams updated with the latest trends and fads and...
Well, we are forced to. Although, obviously, we have to be in contact with the media agencies so they can provide us all the technology that we are not able to develop, right, in order to be on track, not only on the media, but as well on the business. I think one of the challenges we have is to be real connected to the results of the company, and we are. And in order that everyone in the company, all the stakeholders, all the departments, comes with you to get the same objectives, you need to be really close to them and to understand what they need and to let them know what are you working for to get those results. So I think it's a very strategical position that they need to be in contact not only with the most nicest part, which is the creativity, everything.
Coming to Cannes, enjoying the rosé.
Exactly,
yeah, no,
exactly.
I know. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
So I'm getting you're under a lot of pressure for results, outcomes, proving what you guys do, proving that you guys are effective in terms that perhaps C-suite will understand. Now, B, your role's quite interesting because you believe in the marketing fluff, which is, marketing effectiveness. You called it that yourself. How do you translate fluff to CFO? How do you do that?
Don't think I called it fluff.
Quotation marks here from our phone call. But it's true. Marketing effectiveness is kind of fluffy, isn't it? But it works. How do you translate to execute that to someone like a CFO? Because it's fair enough us talking about it.
I think you need to have a very transparent conversation with your CFO on what's going to impact at what point in time. I mean, obviously, if you have a finite amount of budget and you have a specific outcome that you want to get to, are you going to get to that outcome this month or are you going to get to that outcome later in the year? Explaining to the CFO, this is what you can expect now, this is what you can expect later, does take a little bit of a patience to build up what I was calling that mosaic of kind of key metrics. Takes a bit of time, but once you're there, then you have a set of kind of rules that you can look at that are quite understandable for your CFO, I'm sure, as well, or CEO, whomever you're talking to.
In modern business, the patience is probably the difficult part because it takes time when you do it properly. And having the patience and the time to actually see that through, I guess, is the main challenge. We mentioned agencies. Gordana, I'm going to come to you on this. I think how you guys engage with agencies isn't clear to media sellers. Like, are they? How do you engage with them? Do they strategically look at your entire plan and execute for you and tell you what to do, or do you have a different relationship with you? Do they just buy for you? Are you telling them what to do, or are they telling you what to do?
Most of the time.
Which
what
one?
I'm trying to say is, I think the relationship, we as a clients would not be able to do our job well without agency partners. And I know that for the fact. They are extended part of our teams. They are part of the family. Good agency relationship is worth a huge... They replace the loads of our capabilities internally that we don't have, or just can't employ enough. So they are fundamentally important for us. How do we work with them? We really genuinely want to... They are partners, and we try to nourish and work with them as a team. And that's really important, because getting great client is a great responsibility. And I know that now from sitting on this side. If you are not great clients, you'll never get the best out of your agency. So it's a big job as well. Being a client and a good client is something that we all take seriously.
Are they more or less advisory these days compared to 5 years ago?
No, the agency doing, in the good agency, AOR will have all capabilities. That's what you need them from the strategic advice all the way down to activation.
Yeah.
And helping you really to navigate this very fragmented media. And not only that, help you to understand what's next. What are the next frontiers? Which are the new conversations we need to be having with our consumers? Where is tech? Where do we need to invest and how do we need to invest? So absolutely, it goes through the entire organization.
So a question to either of you, if you want to take it, and I think this question, none of you are going to want to take it, but I'll make one of you anyway. Agencies now make the vast majority of their growth from selling media. Is that problematic to you guys? Do you see that there's a conflict there at all? B? Noelia?
No, I don't think there's a problematic, since you have a transparent relationship and you really feel confident with the things they are doing. We believe that our media agency is part of our company. We have totally transparency in terms of results, so they can take objectively the decisions in terms of strategy and in terms of execution as well. So if you feel that the relationship is coming in both sides and you feel transparent enough to share your results, the decisions will be the right ones. So here it's a question of trust.
Trust
Yeah, I
Do you
think
trust them to make the right decisions if they're making money from media? Genuinely?
if you're really clear on your outcomes and priorities, and that's what your agency is responding to, then I think you build a trusting relationship with them. Yep.
Would you go back to the old way of giving them 17.5% on everything like the old days, and or do you think this new way of having like 0 or 1% deals but they can make money on media is better? Is it a more transparent relationship now than it was before?
I think slowly but surely we're getting to a more transparent and more trustful relationship as well. And I was actually just talking about agency setup and agency models, and I think probably some of the older models we see clearly are moving aside. And one critical part, which I think has been really intensified in the last few years, not only on the client side, because I'm representing a client, but on the agency side, is the need for great talent. And the great talent is a completely different conversation than commission basis or 0.1% and so on and so forth. So make sure you have that great talent. You're probably going to get to great outcomes.
Yeah, they always tell me that's always a tricky part, because being able to afford that great talent is a real challenge within agencies. And you know this because you just came from an agency group yourself. Right, so every year we obviously have to focus on telly. We're on a TV stand. B and I have this chat every year. And I just want to know from you guys whether you're concerned about the current sort of TV landscape. It seems to me the small players every year are under more and more pressure, particularly from Google and YouTube. YouTube, if you look at all the stats, they're like almost like the number one TV provider, or number two, sorry, in various markets in terms of how many eyeballs they're generating. And they're coming after premium inventory as well. Does that concern you guys at all, that you could be looking at markets now with 3 or 4 sort of media resellers because it's being consolidated in that fashion? Does that concern any of you guys?
It concerns me if it were the case that I can't reach consumers effectively anymore. So I think that we need to ensure, whatever media owner it is, their responsibility to have a healthy business in terms of driving their revenue. If that's not possible in the ecosystem, you will ultimately have a bit of a challenge. It doesn't concern me per se.
I think we should concern us.
It
I'm
should?
not sure it does to the level to help protect the smaller player in markets. We should, as a professionals in the business, think about the people who live and work in this sort of environment. But I don't think, as a marketeers, we can take a responsibility for trying to fix something like that happening in the market. And as I said, one thing is, should we be concerned? Probably yes. Can we actually influence that? And can we take responsibility for that? It's probably not.
You're the ones with the purse strings, though. If you made big decisions and said, I won't spend until this is done, you guys could really shift the needle. I think you're the only ones with the power. Do you not agree with that?
Again, what we try to do as a marketeer, it's not about my decision to spend money in X, Y, and Z. I need to follow where my consumers are, where my customers. My North Star is understanding what are the habitats and the channels that I need to be able to be part of in order to deliver to my expectations and drive the sales. And that's the reality of the business.
Yep, fair enough. Noelia, same question to you. Is that a challenge in your market?
It is a challenge everywhere, but obviously I am totally agree with what Gordana said. Is we will be where our customers are, independently where they are. Obviously, as much diverse is the offer, probably it's the customers will be as well as diverse as we are, no?
Yes.
But I don't know if we really have to take the responsibility to decide whether or not these 4 big players should be remaining, or we can diversify our offer of our investment. It will depend on the audience all the time.
Okay, quick yes/no question. Quick yes/no. I'm glad the rave has just given a pause for a bit. Yeah, that's nice. Thanks, JB. We'll join there, won't we, in about half an hour. Quick yes/no. We had this thing, Dr. Grace Kike thing. We've talked about it with media owners. It's back on again. Is TV in your organisations viewed as, is it unfashionable? What about for you, B? Just yes/no?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Absolutely not.
I would say yes.
It's unfashionable?
No, I don't consider it unfashionable, but it is considered sometimes. People say, "Oh, no one sees TV." Okay, this is the quickest expression that you can hear. It is not true, obviously. Obviously, when you go to coverage, when you go to the audiences, you get the results, you see where they are. But it's true that it's perceived like old-fashioned.
How can we make it less old-fashioned and more fashionable and cool? What can we do other than hosting these panels in our... I'm not even in flip-flops, actually. Bare feet.
Well, I think we have to come back to measures again. So demonstrate.
Measurement, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe just stop talking about offline and online. Like, TV is digital now. It's about actually different screen planning. It's big screen. It's impact. As a brand, you want to be present in relevant content, productions.
Is that what you want to hear from TV? You don't want to hear us versus them. You want to hear... What do you want to hear? Outcomes, measurement? That's what you want to hear.
Yeah, great impact. It doesn't matter if it's a TV broadcaster or if there's any other media owner.
Okay, so this brings us on. This is our final thing we're going to do before we have breaks. Is the cross media measurement initiative? I've got real issues with it. Obviously, you guys are supporting Origin in the UK. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I did. We're not being recorded, so it's fine. I don't quite understand why brands are doing it. Why are you doing that?
Because I think it's our responsibility as an industry to move the conversation forward and see if there's opportunities for different types of metrics or different types of eventually currencies that are cross-media ones. And I think this is one initiative that the framework that the WFA worked on for many, many years is always just a framework. Now it's an opportunity to see, does the framework actually deliver in reality what we want? And, it's being set up, so proof is in the pudding, obviously.
But my issue is, in these markets, they cannot support more than one sort of panel-based media measurement. And we need panels to be able to know who's in front of the telly. There's just no way around that. And if these, like Origin and the rest of that, take over in the market, you're basically substituting one for another. One, let's say in Barb's case, is very, very good and robust and accurate. Wouldn't it just be cheaper for you guys is to say to YouTube, you must do that because they rate on a 30-second impression, and that'd be better for your business rather than going to the cross-media, the Origin solution, which is the 2-second. And you're paying for it. Why don't you just have the broadcasters do what they do and then tell Google to join it?
There's a difference between the general standard that we're setting up, for instance, in a cross-measurement panel versus how I personally, as an advertiser, would evaluate it. So, I mean, obviously, just because it's set up in a certain way, I can evaluate it in a different way. So I think that's one important aspect of it. And then, as I said, I don't think that anytime soon we'll see the not use of Barb. But if we never evolve the discussion, we wouldn't know.
Okay, so you're doing it to try and kickstart innovation. Fair enough. Gordana, do you have views on this?
I try to think more about consumers and what do we do for them rather than thinking about that sort of end goal of effectiveness and the measurement, which, of course, plays the key role, but that's not something that I tend to worry about, spend more time thinking.
No, more in branding. Right, and I know that this is not an area that you particularly enjoy anyway. Let's wrap this up. I've said some negative things about the industry, about things that we need to challenge. We're going to end on a real, nice, positive note. So, Noelia, I'm going to start with you. Tell us something that you truly love about this. It's a bit fluffy, this. I don't like doing this sort of things. This is pure fluff. But why don't we have a little bit of fun fluff? What do you love about your job and the media industry?
Well,
if you say Google parties, we're going to kick you off this stand, just so you know.
Go to parties.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are now in the most exciting moment of advertising. We have plenty of opportunities that we didn't have in the past. We have much more touch points with our customers that we didn't have in the past. And we even have the capabilities to track it and to know more about them or their engagement. So I think it's a very good moment to be in here, to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And to follow the figures and the numbers, but don't get mad with it. And sometimes your instinct is the best solution. So I think we should find the balance between all the data, which is cool, but as well what we really know that it will work.
Beautifully put. Gordana, what do you love?
I think the nicest thing, the most exciting thing being in this industry is that I'm allowed to dream. This is the only job that gives me the opportunity to actually sit and think and dream about these big things that we can together as a marketeer, like really push the boundaries, really think about what our brands want to stand for, and push it really hard, and dream about like transformation, doing these crazy new things in advertising that nobody ever thought of.
And you have the opportunity within your organisation to dream and innovate and do all those fun things?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Occasionally. It's a very large pharmaceutical company, so that's really good to hear. And finally, B.
What I love about my job and about the industry is, that I know there's so many things that I don't know, that I don't have solutions to. But what's equally amazing is, generally, I feel that with some brain power and the great partner and team and my own team around me, I can figure it out.
Yeah, always learning. And you're an engineer, so you're like a proper geek. I love that about you, by the way. Be the proper geek. Ladies and gentlemen, can you join me in thanking my wonderful panelists for being so open and honest with their responses? Wonderful speakers. Thank you.